Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Kunzman, MD, and I have had several people request some information on intermittent fasting. So, what exactly is this style of eating and where are its benefits? Well, intermittent fasting is an eating pattern. So, it cycles between periods of fasting and periods of eating. So it does not specify the different types of foods you should eat, but rather when you should eat them. So in this respect, it's not a diet in the conventional sense, but it is most accurately described as an eating pattern. There are many different styles, and I almost hate to call them rules because I believe you all can incorporate various different patterns of this eating style to suit your own personal lifestyles. So there are some common styles. The biggest one I've noticed is a 16-hour fast in a 24-hour period of time. And some people might consider doing that every week, or some people may consider doing that a couple times per week. So what we're really talking about is potentially fasting all the way up until noon, and then you may eat somewhere between noon and 8 or noon and 6, and then stop eating for another 16-hour window of time. There are some people who may do an alternate day of true fasting. So potentially maybe 4 days a week, you're eating per your usual, and potentially 3 days a week on the every other day, you are literally fasting for 24 hours. Now, that may seem a little bit tough to do. So then other people may take those alternate days and do a very low calorie, such as 500 or 600 calories per day on those in-between days. So they may do a 4 days on, 3 days off. But I've seen several people and styles do 5 days on and 2 days off of eating. Now, eating normally may require your normal caloric intake. And again, in the fasting or intermittent fasting style, this is not truly doing any calorie counting. So it is easy for some people to just consider skipping breakfast and eat lunch and dinner. Intermittent fasting doesn't really talk about snacking per se, so long as it is within those windows of eating. Now, why is this becoming popular? Well, first of all, I believe that a lot of these styles of eating is similar to the innate patterns of how a baby feeds or how we listen to our own hunger hormones and just simply waiting until we are hungry to eat, assessing ourselves while we are eating and stopping when we are full, and simply waiting again until we listen to those hunger hormones again. And if you really dive into this style and listen to your bodies, this is how we lived in Paleolithic times as well. There were protracted periods of fasting simply because food wasn't available, and our bodies are equipped to manage this. We are not suffering on those in-between zones when we did not have access to food or we could not hunt and gather those foods. But then we were able to manage those large feasts when food was plentiful and then go back to periods of fasting in between. So I don't think this is unusual for our bodies to go through. So intermittent fasting almost invariably will lead to a loss in body fat, and this is desired for many people. And as soon as this happens, the number of, we'll say, factors and factories for leptin production will decrease, and therefore so will the amount of leptin in circulation. So leptin is one of our satiety hormones. So if we have some fat loss, which is where a lot of leptin can be released from, then we have more satiety. Now, with a longer fasting window, such as 24 hours, ghrelin doesn't seem to get any higher. So ghrelin really makes us have that intense hunger. And you would think that when we are fasting, ghrelin level would go up. But over time, it doesn't get much higher. And sometime in one study, they found that even if there were increases in ghrelin, the actual sensation of hunger did not go up. Now, fasting also improves our insulin sensitivity, which helps our metabolism. So, contrary to continued restriction, fasting will not make you feel hungrier in the long run. Instead, it increases that leptin, so it makes you feel satisfied. It will increase the adiponectin levels, and it will make you feel satisfied in the long run. So, here are some of the extra benefits of intermittent fasting. It slows down our aging process, which I'm sure a lot of us aging women will be happy to hear. The benefits of intermittent fasting also helps in reducing inflammation and improving those particular conditions that are associated with inflammation, such as, so again, here we go, intermittent fasting can help in the prevention and treatment of Alzheimer's. It can help with arthritis symptoms. It certainly helps with the asthmatic phenomenon. For those multiple sclerosis MS patients, it helps with the symptoms of that. It helps in prevention of stroke. So we have a lot of research already underway with those conditions. Clearly, with insulin sensitization, it is going to help with the diabetic patient. Now, in the beginning phase of intermittent fasting, you may feel a little bit uncomfortable because, okay, you may actually finally have hunger, whereas previously, if you had a lot of scheduled eating and ritualistic eating, you may never have allowed your body to even observe hunger. So you may have hunger for the first time in a while. You may have some fatigue. You may have some insomnia. You may have some headaches, and you may have some nausea. But most of those will resolve in your first weeks of considering intermittent fasting. As a reminder, intermittent fasting does not give you macro counting of your amount of carbohydrates and which carbohydrates and your fats and your proteins and your vegetables. A lot of people ask me if they are allowed to drink in, let's say, that 16-hour period of time or a 24-hour fast. And all of those 0-calorie drinks don't count. So black coffee and tea and seltzers and clearly water do not count. Now, I warn of any of the sweet tasting 0-calorie drinks. Those don't count because those still can stimulate your insulin production and rises in cortisol, which will certainly go against the concept of your intermittent fasting. Again, these are general guidelines. You can craft intermittent fasting any which way you need to help with your own lifestyle. But suffice to say that any of the blocks of time of not eating will have health benefits. So again, I'm Natalie Kunzman, MD. Subscribe to my channel below, and until we meet again, be well.